Welcome to episode 2 of The Sovereign CEO in our series exploring how different energetic identities, specifically profiles, are designed to lead, create wealth, influence, and business. Today, I'm joined by Michele Leah, 4/6 Manny Gen, with a an incarnation cross of the racks of penetration. Michelle's journey has been one of momentous material success, building the strategy, being the strategist behind a multi eight-figure business and now a thriving coaching business that serves female entrepreneurs and high-performing leaders and high-level leaders. And she's about to tell us all about the next pivot that's coming up for her, which is really amazing. Today, we decode the psychology of the high-performing woman who learned to survive through force, the initiation her Gate 51 took her into through cancer, burnout, and collapse, and her identity calibration back into the rise through alignment, which caused her to lead differently. So let's begin our conversation by exploring what happens when a high performing woman stops building success through survival. And really, at this point, we want to really look at high performance versus true power. So you were a high performing athlete, you were building to scale, and you were creating from pressure, force, adrenaline, and overworking. And what seems to have happened is you got to a certain point when your body interrupted the pattern. So your body as a leadership intelligence, that sacral, that 4426, which we'll go into, that deep knowing, um, is really, really powerful. And your chart screams that I am a woman designed to lead through embodiment. You have a defined sacral, a defined spleen. You've got the 4426, which we're going to go deeper into with this new pivot, which is the entrepreneurial channel and the channel of the network. It's the channel of the transmitter and the pattern recognition specialist. But initially, you overrode your body. So the question is, what happens when a body can no longer carry the business model? So let's start at the beginning. Who were you before the collapse and what identity built that burnout?
Oh, this is a great question. Before the collapse, well, there's been many collapses in my life, I will tell you. But what really happened for me growing up as a competitive athlete, as you mentioned, as a high performer, really being pushing my body past the limits and telling myself that I didn't have to listen to my body as a competitive athlete really started this out. And I found myself tuning out my own internal wisdom, not listening to myself, not listening to what I needed, because I would just bypass that and move forward. And that's kind of how I operated in my life. And it was such a superpower. It really served me in so many levels. I was a high performer. We built a multi eight-figure business from the ground up. I've opened offices all over the world from scratch. I've set up teams, offices, you name it. Really very successful on paper, really truly Instagram worthy life, right? So on the outside, on paper, it looked great. I was traveling the world, living the dream life, friends, family, all of this. I had an apartment in New York and Vancouver. And then what happened is one day, I was sitting in my office in New York City and I get a phone call and my doctor tells me you have cancer. And, you know, this this idea of really pushing yourself drives you so far. And I will tell you that, I would love to say that was my wake up call. Like that changed everything, but it didn't actually. My first thought was, how am I going to get out of here without anyone seeing me? How am I going to lead this team without anyone knowing? I didn't want anyone thinking I was lazy or weak or incapable. And, I went through cancer treatment for over a year that wasn't working. And my doctor was about to give up on me. And I was about to give up on me. And I heard this voice, this inner knowing that said to me, you can heal yourself. You can heal yourself. And so, just as my doctor was about to fire me as a patient, I decided to heal myself. And in just a few weeks' time, probably instantly, based on my test results, I was cancer free and I'm over 7 years cancer free today. So that was really my first taste of listening to my inner knowing. We hear this voice inside of ourselves guiding us, telling us what's right for us, and we override it at every single step. And so it really made me explore this so much deeper. I went through a deep, deep healing of myself, of really understanding that even though on paper my life looked great, I never really chose it. It was never really what I desired, what I wanted. And I really wanted to build a life that felt more aligned for me and felt more free, more, in the direction that I was meant to go. And so I left that business behind as hard as it was. I did love the people I worked with. I loved what we built, but I realized I was meant for different, meant for greater, meant for more. And I was really here to help other women design a life and business that feels aligned for them too. So that's how I started this business.
Amazing. And I love that you touched on because I was going to ask you this as a question in case you hadn't mentioned it, but you did. You spoke about the actual two things you mentioned here that are really important for generators who want to really fulfill their highest potential. You said when we spoke before, and you've mentioned it here, I was life was happening to me. So I was building from willful consciousness. But when you had that and you healed yourself and you listened to your inner voice, you were starting to create from through me consciousness. So there was this big consciousness shift, a paradigm shift. And that is really the moment I think your body shifted from being living as a generator who's kind of unconscious into awakened consciousness, you know? Is that does that sound fair?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, the example of cancer, healing myself was really interesting because I was even just with that, I was listening to what other people said, how I should heal, what I should be doing. And inside, I knew that wasn't actually true for me. And when I actually listened to myself and decided that I was a healthy person, I became one. And it really made me realize the power we hold, the power of listening to your intuition and how powerful we are. We're so much more powerful than we even realize.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you what the cancer caused you to confront. Is that still a valid question? Or because what I'm hearing is that actually it got you to confront that you yourself are the source of your own power.
Yeah, that and I will share this, right after that happened. So, what happened is they actually uncovered that I had cancer because we were my ex and I were trying to have a baby, and I was going through fertility sparing treatment, and we went through all of that. And, at the end of this, I was cancer free, everything was great, and my old story that I used to tell online was like, and then I built the business, my life was perfect, but that wasn't actually the case either. So I actually, I felt things were still unsettled. It was like that was the first piece. And I was getting ready for work one morning and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm putting on my mascara and I hear this voice that's like, look in his journal. Look in his journal. I keep hearing this and I'm like, journal, like I'm hearing things. I'm like losing my mind. And I go into the office and I reach into my husband's backpack and I pull out his journal and I open to the page where he is outlined how he's going to divorce me, take all my money,
Oh my
steal my
God.
apartment, get his green card, all of this stuff. And that really, was my rock bottom because the heartbreak that I felt just like understanding and as I, uncovered more and more, I realized that the entire life I had built, my identity was a lie. And that crushed me. And so really it was such a gift as well because, at that point, I'm on the floor of Barnes& and Noble, tears streaming down my face, like, surrounded by health self-help books, and, you know, I find this book on codependency, and I open up this book and I'm like, "Oh my god, all of these things are me, like, I created this." And so that, I think, for me, going through the healing of myself, like loving myself, my relationship with myself, my relationship with other people, was really the first time that I took ownership over me, that I really recognize my part, as a creator of my own life, what I actually wanted, because I was so, I was in this relationship with someone who basically, and if you told me this could happen to you, like I wouldn't have believed you, but created this pattern of lies and distrust within myself that I no longer knew who I was, what I wanted. I'm not even sure if I ever did, but it was even to the point that I didn't trust myself at all. And so just really having to rebuild myself from the ground up helped me to understand who I am, and really gave me the gift and the empowerment to help other people as well. So,
You spoke about codependency, and the question that was popping into my mind is how do you think that pattern overlapped with business or how you were showing up in your business, the eight-figure business, or any, or you can talk about it from you or your clients. How does this pattern overlap and hold people?
ooh. So I think first, I just want to say, I think there is a misconception about codependency. It's like, oh, I need someone else to, like, whatever that is. Like, if you're codependent, you need people around you or whatever. That's not it. Codependency is really not having a healthy relationship with yourself and other people, through, you come first, your relationship, your self-love, all of that really dictates how you relate to other people, how you communicate boundaries, etc. And so really addressing this issue, or really addressing your relationship with yourself, with other people, it it translates throughout your entire life, through your business, through your relationship, like through your health. It's how you really, your lens on the world. So yeah, it absolutely shows up. And I think it's something, what I notice is, and I work with people at every stage in business. I've worked with 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs. What happens a lot of times, like even recently, I talked to someone, we were talking about their team and how their team's not aligned, right? Or, it's like, there's something weird. And I just like, I see the pattern that is going on there. It's really easy for me. And I was like, "Oh, you have the wrong seat, people in the wrong seats." And she's like, "Oh," and this is someone making 7, almost 8 figures, like, "Oh, well, I don't wanna tell them that."
Oh, wow.
Right?
What
Or
example?
or I didn't even realize that. Like, it's like it's sort of like, and I have another client whose husband is on their team. So it's like really being able to um, have a great relationship and be clear on what is what and what your boundaries are and who does what. And that is really challenging when you're not able to communicate clearly.
Oh man, that I mean, even just that one little nugget alone is so it was like such a key valuable takeaway because yeah, until you really get to the root of those underlying things, it just bleeds out into your it's leaks, it's energy leaks. It lead, and yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's totally energy leaks, and it can look like a lot of times, like, even at a very, like, if you don't, it doesn't even have to involve a team, it starts with you. So, like, a lot of times I see people are like, "Oh, I hate my social media," or "I don't wanna show up online," or, I had one of my clients hated her strategy, and she blew up on Instagram after we worked together, and I was like, "What do you mean it's working?" And she's like, "It turns out she didn't wanna be seen, she didn't have a good relationship with herself." So it's like, it's not usually the strategy that is missing. Of course, you need that. But in business, like, and this is where the codependency kind of fits in too. It's like, it's really about aligning your energetics, it's aligning your mindset and your strategy in one stream. So if you're out of alignment, it's not going to work really well for you. If you don't have a healthy pattern with yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you have shadows coming up for you, you're going to need to overcome them to be able to be successful.
Exactly. And that's what last year highlighted for me when I took the year out. And I had a really amazing mirror. That was the one you said, "Are you still with him?" I said, God, no, LOL. What I got to see was the patterns that were in through that intimate partnership. I was like, wow, this is what's been holding me back in business. And what at the root was the need to earn love. And so there was this perfectionism running through even though I really was so blind to it, why I kept pivoting, why I kept hiding behind building bodies of work instead of really showing up, or even I still had this thing of over delivering, but
Mhm.
not from a place of overflow, but from a place of like, I need to get this one because I need not to be wrong, And that was like it wasn't good because I couldn't sustain that because it didn't make sense. The money I was charging for the work I was delivering just was out of and it was rooted in that codependent pattern. So once
Yeah.
boom.
That is such amazing awareness and, like, what a gift. And it's challenging too. It's like going through that, especially in a romantic relationship where we often see it come up most. I find, at least in my experience and my clients, it can be very painful. And it's showing you areas of yourself to really hold, like you said, hold up a mirror and say, what part is my part here? Like, you're in every experience you're in that experience. Someone is not doing something to you. You are in that experience because there's something being reflected to you. So it's really being willing to look in the mirror. And what's interesting about this, and I think, at the base of everything in business and life, and why I help people with themselves and their businesses, because I see it as the same thing, is really relationship with yourself, relationship with others. And, it's like as you evolve and you move into business and you grow your business, things are gonna come up for you. Like, it's totally normal, and, like, you'll probably see the same exact pattern, like, whether that's perfectionism. Like, I see patterns that I felt were healed. We're all human beings, right? That come up again, and you're like, "Oh, there I see you." Like, I'm like sometimes you're like, "I thought that was gone. Why is it back?" Like, you know? So having just being willing to look in the mirror and work through it is so important.
And I call like as I've been developing my body of work over the lot, like my thought leadership really around business, entrepreneurship, awakening, and we share the same incarnation cross as well. We're both racks of penetration. And
Yeah.
this becomes really fascinating. But for me, it's like leading to what you say. What I'm developing is what I call the self actualized business, because business is a form of it is a form of self actualization.
Yeah.
It's a spiritual journey ultimately to yourself. You know yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I always say your business is a vehicle for transforming you. Like, that's what I see it as. It's part of your spiritual journey. It's like the best being an entrepreneur is the best way to transform yourself.
Right.
100%.
Mm. Okay, right. We're gonna come back to the thread, and we're gonna get into the pip. Like we're gonna go on a journey with the audience about your evolution, actually, and that's a really important word for both of us because evolution is our pathway, and actually 7 year cycles is really important for us too. So with the 53, that gate is about initiating new starts and empowering people to start new things. But let's go into you're a 4-6 manifesting generator with the racks of penetration. That's your incarnation cross. And it's really fascinating as we get to see through your rise how you've risen to massive financial and personal success, but not without serious shocks along the way. And so, for those who don't know, the racks of penetration is a cross that fulfills its purpose. Listen to this by helping people to break into new awareness. So your actual purpose on this planet and your soul curriculum and your whole life trajectory is literally about you shattering illusion for yourself and helping others to do it too. So you break people into new awareness. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And so what happens for you and one of your zones of genius. So this cross, sorry, is focused on consciousness and rising in consciousness. So when we look at you, we see you're a woman who is a catalyst. Like you catalyze change. So in a minute, when we get in, not now, but in a few minutes, we're gonna probably evolve into how you're gonna create catalyst and you're gonna initiate a whole new way of doing business for heart-centered, conscious entrepreneurs, visionaries. But let's come back to now. The 54, the gate 54, which is in your incarnation cross, is about ascension. It's about rising and helping your people to rise as well. And the 53 is about evolution and reinventing cycles. So we're going to get into how this looks for you. And at the heart of this cross, we see alchemy and transformation. And what you've said is that's what you do. So how did your leadership style change after the healing, after the self healing?
Oh, wow. I think that's so interesting. I think I I feel like my leadership style has changed in general overall. I think as a leader, like, and if you don't mind, I feel like it changed even before then. So I feel like, as a leader and you're growing your business and you're evolving through the changes and the hurdles and things like this, it's going to change you as a person. It's going to change, my leadership style used to be I need to do everything, I'll just do it. It'll be easier. I don't want to burden you. I'm scared to tell people what I actually think, like all of those kind of things. And as I've matured and as you grow a team and, our business was like 200 plus people. I had over 60 people on my team. I quickly learned how to evolve through leadership and to help people evolve through leadership too. So I think in business, my leadership style evolved. And then after I went through all of this, I've evolved as a person entirely. So I think I'm much more grounded. I am much more of a listener. I in terms of, when I'm working with people, I'm really working with them, listening to what they're saying, taking that on board and making changes. And yeah, I think that just every single day, I feel like I evolve as a leader. And the more I know myself, the more grounded I am in myself, the more powerful of a leader I can be. What I will say is though, I am a collaborative leader. I don't believe that I know all the answers. I hope that I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm in the wrong room. And I'm always curious and always open to listening and really understanding people's perspectives and learning from them. And I think and really I take a lot of time every single week to go inward and understand myself, what's going on, and clear up my own energy and my own being just so that I can be the best version of myself I can be. And so I think after cancer for me, I started meditating a lot more. I started grounding in to myself a lot more. I started journaling. I did a lot of the deep work I shared before, and that's entirely changed me. You know, I don't get rattled by people. Like it's funny, like we live in this online world. People aren't going to like you. They're going to leave comments, and the difference between me now and then is like I understand that that has nothing to do with me, and I really just lead with empathy and understanding, and I really try to just lead from that place, do the best I can. I don't
Amazing.
Does that answer your question?
So good. Like, especially you touched on quite a few really powerful things. One, again, leadership being about listening, not
Yeah.
telling, not barking orders, not being this hierarchy. And I loved it when you said, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I made that mistake earlier in my career, and I'm talking about my teaching career when I led and built a school when I what I found was I was always the best in the room. And that was a big problem for me, as in it held me back in
Yeah.
my development. And part of that was kind of like, again, a shadow thing. Like I have to be the best, and
Mm,
that's so it's so important for um just not just development, but your expansion, being able to really be around the ideas, the thinkers, the perspective.
yeah. Can I add to that? I think though it's really interesting what's coming through for me is I like to be around a lot of different people and be open to people's ideas. And I think that in the online space, a lot of times people are like, if you're not making money or you're making this amount, you must be valuable, and that's just simply not the case. I find that there are a lot of amazing people out there with amazing ideas, with a lot to share. And just for me, being willing to just open up and listen and understand someone who's different from you
Mhm.
is so important. It's the most valuable thing, like
Yeah.
different perspectives, different like awareness on life. Like in this conversation today, I'm learning a lot. It's just being open to always learning and not having to be right.
One thing I love about you in your community, and this is I was putting it down to being a fourth line thing, but it's also a really powerful leadership thing. You always respond to people's comments and you always ask a question. You show deep interest in people. It's not fake. It's this curiosity. And that links in with what you were talking about with the empathy thing as well. Like by opening that question, um, it's helping someone to be seen, which is the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah, and I think being curious and just being genuinely curious is a great skill as a leader. Being like wondering, not being like, I'm going to fill in the blank for you, but actually allowing someone to share with you their idea, to digest that, and then decide for yourself. I think a lot of times we think we know better. And that really is a handicap. Like it's not a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to come back to our journey and let's see where we're at. So I'm just tuning in to see what's let's see if it flows, and if it doesn't, it's okay. So when we look, we're going to come into your gate 51, which is the gate of initiation. That's what it's called. And it's about this, and where we have the 53 that likes to start new things and it has the impetus to create new in the world. The 51 is pretty much like this as well. It's an initiating energy. It helps to you can read. This is where you actually crack people's consciousness open and look in the shadows, see the pattern. We see it more deep. See how your chart all fits together. You're starting
Mm.
to this picture of who you like, this genius that you hold. But when we look at the 51, the highest expression is the warrior of facing personal fears, taking courageous leaps, being the one who walks first, walking into the unknown. And then when you go through your own initiation, you bring that information back, which we're seeing with the new pivot, but we will go into that in a minute. Let's talk about how this works when you were the strategist behind the multi eight figure business and how you were driven. What kind of mindset did you have then, do you think? Or, yeah.
Um, s- that I think that I've always felt like, let's figure it out. So I remember, I was probably 23 years old. We started this business. My literal desk was board. A board. Like that's what it was, very scrappy, right? And we decided we were going to open an office in Taiwan and that I was going to go overseas and run this office. I'm like, I think I was 23, 24 years old and I had no idea what I was doing, right? Obviously, why would I? So I was pretty much a kid and I was just like, okay, I'll figure it out. And so I did. And so I think, I got my motorcycle license to get around. They all spoke Chinese, barely spoke any English. I like went over there, set up all of the office, the team, all of our training program. Again, I like building things, so that's really is natural for me. But I think that just the mindset of, that there's always a third door. So a lot of people just look at life and they're like, I can look at option one or I can look at option two, door number one, door number two. But they don't realize that there is this other door that they don't see that is door number three, right? I call this the third door method, right? It's
Well,
really tuning into the possibility. Like, what is the other possibility? Because there's always like a back alley you can run through, right? There's always a different pathway that you can go to through. And I will share this. So I wasn't going to share this. Your note taker came in.
carry
um,
on.
and so basically, recently and the other part of this, which I do want to share, is just being entirely unreasonable and being willing to tune into your truth, act from that truth, and live that truth, right? Not backing down. The 1% of people, as an entrepreneur, the 1% are going to look at this mountain and be like, I'm going to climb that mountain. And then 99% of the people are going to look at that and be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to climb that mountain. You're entirely unreasonable. And of course you are. You have to be unreasonable to do that. So it's a mixture. Part of being unreasonable is looking at the third door, finding the pathway, finding a different way to do it, and just being entirely unshakably committed to getting it done. Of course it's going to happen. Like when I went over to Taiwan, I had never done that before. I was just like, yeah, of course I'm figuring it out and it's going to be great. And I was convicted in that. So I think that's a huge thing. Was I nervous? Yeah. Was I scared? Yeah. So it's not like you're going to dissolve every fear or every single thing that comes up for you. It's really about just being like, I'm doing it anyways. Like, this is what I have to do. This is it. And just going for it.
So when this third door appears, would you call the third door? I don't talk about collapsing timelines. I call it elevating into timelines. But would you call the third door method a timeline collapsing pathway or something else?
I think I would call it, it could be something else. So, an example is, and I gave this example recently. I was talking about this. So through in my past business, it was during the 2007 financial crash, and all of the businesses that most of our business was financial institutions. So this was a big deal for us. Like our business was collapsing. All of our money was being depleted from accounts. We like couldn't pay people. And really, the option, I was talking to the CEO. I wasn't the CEO at the time, but I was talking to him and he was like, well, we have two options. Either you fire your whole team or you fire yourself. And like, neither of those are good options. And, I get back to my desk. Everyone's joking around. They have no idea this is going on. And this is part of leadership, right? Holding that space while all these things are going on and there's fires in the background and you're holding it together for your team. And I was like, well, gosh, there's got to be another way. There's got to be a third door. And so I figured out how to make money differently, how to pay people out in a different way, how to like strategize. And we made a lot of money instead. So it's not about necessarily collapsing time because it could look like a lot of different things. It's just finding the better path to
Right.
where you're going.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are like, I have to stay, like, this is a good example. Like, oh, I have to stay in this job or I have to quit this job and start my business. Like, no, you don't. Like, there's a third door. You can keep your job, which is great stability. And I recommend to anyone. I don't know why people think that's a bad idea, but I mean, everyone chooses what's best for them. But And you can build your business while you're doing that. Like, there's different pathways that a lot of times when we feel stuck, or when you feel like your back's up against the wall, you don't see,
No.
you know?
So there's a couple of things that was just pouring through when you did that. Your pivot, which we are getting to, so every listener, hang on the end of your seat because this is really big. Um, this is a third door. You're offering people a third door. That what you're building now is the third doorway.
It is a third doorway. You are right. That is kind of, yeah.
But also, like, we're gonna keep coming zooming in on, like, again, this is your pattern recognition. "Oh, I see a problem. I see that there's multiple different ways. Here's my pattern recognition zooming in, 4426 channel. Boom, here it is." And you bring that strategy. So you don't so how this skill is in yourself, in your clients, and in your business, in the world. In the world, you're now taking it into a big, big world. So let's come back to our journey. One of the things about the incarnation cross, it's like I feel like Oprah right now. Taking your, have you watched the
I
program?
feel like you're Oprah. I love this.
Yeah, the incarnation cross of the racks of penetration is, in particular, in its calling, is about being called to initiate and begin new things at the right moment to
Mm,
further the expansion of humanity or your own personal development. And it has a tendency to make discoveries, third door pivot coming up, with keenly achieved intuition, a propensity to learn to lean into the unknown or the fringes of your field. And I'll give you an example of how this works for me, because we can compare. But and actually, next week you won't believe it. I've got a projector on who's also a 4/6 with the racks of penetration. So
ooh.
have this same incarnation cross. Stephen Hawkins has this incarnation cross,
Mm.
and there's a couple of other, I think, oh, Yogi, and I told you, Yogi Ananda has it as well. Okay, so Mystic, anyway, we'll zoom in. So for me, as I was developing my understanding of social media selling and human design and going deep into it, in Gene Keys and human design, there's something called fractals, and I the idea is that we are all like forms of consciousness that split off, and
Mm.
and our actual soulmate clients, which I discovered, are fractals. So in our human design chart, there are specific placements that show you who your exact soulmate, who your fractal clients are. So I started
Mm.
developing something called the fractal first formula, which is the a fractal first approach to social media selling, which is helping people to zoom in on their actual fractals. And so that's an example of me going, oh, there's all this stuff, but I'm going to zoom in on this fringe idea that really excites me and build something around that. And we're going to talk about how you're doing that too. So when we look at this cross, we say, here's this is the effect that it's designed to have on others. People pass through your life when they are ready or need to break into new awareness. So how much,
Mm.
yeah, so how much would you say that intuition has been a guiding force in your business for your success in life?
Oh, I think that intuition is probably the most important thing. So I think, for me, like I told that story earlier about like hearing, look in his journal, or just hearing that inner voice, like you can heal yourself, like, and that's personal. But I think, it translates entirely into business, into just like really it's really about tuning out the noise that's around you, the static, there's static in life, like everyone else's idea, what strategy you should be doing, and what you feel like you have to do, and really tuning back into your own truth and what's right for me. And then when you do that and you have this clear channel, you're able to be open to really moving towards where you want to go in a different way and seeing things that you may not have connected before, or hearing things, or things come up easily for you. I find that all the time. I really do. I think, and it's not a one and done. It was interesting. I just did a launch in February called The Unreasonable Woman, which is really my brand. And the Unreasonable Woman pathway is 3 things. It's number 1 is truth, is tuning into your truth. So things like what's true for me, but the other part of that is and what questions I found helpful were what am I tolerating that I no longer respect?
Favorite question. Yeah.
What am I pretending doesn't bother me? And when I and then when I did that, I was like, before I do this launch, I need to do this for myself. I need to be in the energy. I feel like this. And what happened is I realized that I wasn't actually on the right path. And I was like, whoa, like not expecting that. It kind of threw me. And so as I tuned my station in, I realized like I needed to really keep retuning. So and then, taking aligned action. Step 2 is act, taking aligned action, and then living unreasonably happy, rich, and relaxed. And so, when you're following your intuition, it's really about keep tuning that station back into you so that you can hear the song that you want to listen to. And that song is your intuition. The song is the beauty of life.
I think now's a really good time. If you want, we can zoom into the actual third way that you're creating because it links with your intuition. It links with how you've been guided to pivot. But your big thing as well about the static and the noise and helping. So let's go into it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I haven't shared this. This isn't like an announcement or anything like this, but it's kind of crazy because I had this idea about 7 years ago, and it's interesting you're saying 7 years is a cycle, and I just kept tuning it out. I was like, "Nope, no, this doesn't make sense. No, it's too big. No, I can't do it. No, it's not now," which is the opposite of what I tell people to do, of course, right? We do that ourselves. So, anyways, as I told you, I was tuning into this unreasonable experiment and I realized that even though I built amazing things and I love coaching and I love my business and I've pivoted some of those things and I realized I'm meant to do something bigger than this, something a little differently. And this idea kept coming up for me. But so I started tuning into that. And so what happened is really interesting. And even recently, I've been doing a lot of clearing. I've been doing a lot of work. I have a program called Meant for More, which entirely shifted my nervous system and it like cleared out all of the limiting beliefs. And now I'm like, boom, I'm ready to go, which is crazy. And so as this is happening, what's coming through for me, what I'm realizing as I'm working with all these women and I'm talking to all these women every day, I talk to probably hundreds of women most weeks, entrepreneurs. And I'm hearing things like, oh my gosh, it's so busy online, or there's so much out there, or I don't know what's AI and what's not, or I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, or I don't know what the next step is for me, which is really the problem I solve with my clients. Like I help them build what is the next step? How do I build to my vision? But if there's so much static out there, you don't actually know what your vision even is. Right. And of course, we want our vision, but we wanna keep tuning and because we're going to be available for something even better to escalate in our favor than our vision. So, that being said, I was like, "Well, how can I solve this as AI?" Like, I'm noticing even this week, I'm going online and I'm like, "Ugh," because it's like Chat GPT post, Chat GPT, and I'm just like, "What are we even doing?" Right? So I've decided that I'm going to design something and I'm really excited about it that really helps women, female entrepreneurs, tune out the static, tune out the noise, and tune back into themselves so they know the right steps and they can actually connect to the exact right people, the exact right opportunities, the exact right coaches for them, whatever that is, based on who they are, where they are, what they actually need, not what they think they need. So, yeah, I'm really excited. It's a huge project and I've just started working on it and like it's insane. I'm very excited about it, but yeah. Yeah, so
When we look at your profile, which is 4-6, so the fourth line profile is when we look at profile in human design, this is massive for business because it's the role that you're here to play in life. So, a couple of things when we look at the fractal client, we're looking at what is their profile. Because when you understand their profile, our profile, we could talk, I could do a PhD thesis on profile alone. And again, that's another thing that really fascinates me. So, the fourth line, when we look at this archetype, the fourth line, when they're expressing in the world, they're here to build networks, to receive aligned everything in your world is actually going to come from your network. So if you try to go out in the world and create in cold like audiences, it's never going to work because your partnerships, your love, your houses, your careers, your clients, they all come through the network. So you
Mhm.
are people that build very powerful networks. So when I'm speaking to someone about, oh, what's the most aligned business? I'm saying, okay, well, affiliate marketing is a really good model for you because that's how you get, that's how you create. But what I'm hearing now is that you're a connector. So the fourth line is also a teacher, but in terms of what like their role and how they're like a puzzle piece and like everyone's a unique like an orchestra, right? So we've got the one line, third line, whatever. We're all part of this big orchestra. The fourth line is a networker. So building a model, what I'm hearing now is that you're actually distilling all those years of being in the online world, working with thousands of entrepreneurs, and you're saying, huh, I see a pattern 46, 44, 26, and this is the channel of a transmitter, but it's also the entrepreneurial channel which you have. It's all about connecting people, connecting ideas, and building community as well. So, do you want to zoom in a bit about the alignment piece as well, about what the actual problem people are facing is? Because you did touch on it. You said, "Oh, there's lots of noise," but go in a bit more. Like, what? Yeah, what makes this really powerful?
Yeah. So when I work with people, generally they come in and people, a lot of times they either feel stuck or they're ready to scale or something's not feeling quite right. They're really successful, but like maybe they feel off or something like this, which I kind of described with the team earlier. Right. So, what I find is that a lot of times people are being fed a lot of data from the outside. They think they should do their business like some other coach or some other person because it worked for them, but it's not actually the right thing for them, or they're looking steps ahead at someone else's model and they're taking like, oh, I need to build this funnel and this website and all of this stuff. So that's one part of this, right? It's like they're totally out of alignment with who they are or how they build. And so when I work with people, I really look at like, what are your unique superpower skills, gifts? How are you here to create that in the world? What feels best for you? What's most natural? What feels good for you? At the end of everything, I always ask, like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how aligned does that feel? And if it's not a 5, how could you make it a 5? What would you do to make it feel better? Because a lot of times we're building things in a way that just doesn't feel right for us. And there's a lot of different ways to build things, so you don't have to do that, actually, It's like, of course, in your business, you're probably gonna do things that aren't your favorite stuff, but overall, you don't have to build things in a way that aren't yours,
Yeah.
and so I think there's that problem in terms of, like, what's my next step? And then the other piece of that is, whether it's people who are so supremely talented at what they do, they're a master of their craft, but maybe they're not a good marketer because that's not their skill. So helping those people be connected to the people who need them,
Yeah.
helping them find visibility like this podcast, like as it grows, like who would be really great as a fit for this specifically, not like here's a list of podcasts, post this thing, but like actually based on who you are and what you need and what you're like evaluating that so that we can connect the right people. So to me, I really want to build something where everyone wins, It's like, and that has my heart. It's not launched, it's not anything. It's funny. I was very afraid to share the idea because I was like, oh my God, people are going to steal it. And it's interesting. I have high level women taking pieces that I've told and launching pieces of it, but they can't do this. So
It is deep in your chart. I mean, like, when I
it,
listen to this, I'm like, "There's no one else could do it. There's no
no one else
competition."
can do it.
And I could actually can I just say, I'm sorry, I'm so excited, but what I'm building right now, the one offer. I remember I went to your masterclass and I was like, right, I've taken this and I did my own audits and I was like, this is it. I took it and I've actually implemented it. Oh my God, I feel so excited. And what I'm now
I'm
focusing,
so excited that you did that. That makes my day. That makes me so
yeah.
happy.
And the one thing I'm like, category of one, that's my genius. I know how, like you said, the thread, like
Mhm.
that actually is, like you say, you're doing the do, but for me, it's like I know how to turn and position someone into a category of one. That is it. That's my genius. And see
Yeah.
patterns underneath that hold them back. But what I love about yours is like I can do that. I could never do what you're doing and what you're doing with the fourth line profile, with the channel 4426. You're like when you are deep in this level of alignment, you are transmitting, you are emanating. And this is really why my vehicle to help people become their category of one is through Gene Keys and human design, because it's a frequency. That's why
Mhm.
there is no competition, and it's that I think it's really important to say, like, people can take parts of it, any and actually, you've got the channel 1 to 8, which is about the channel of a creative role model. You're meant to go out and just create and be and let it go, but the thing is about creation, once that thing's out in the world, it's out and people can do what they want, but they will never be able to do what you've done.
No, and I wanna just say, like, I 100 first of all, I love that you're doing that so much, it makes me so happy, but and also what I wanna say is the whole point of this is that there is no competition. I don't believe there's a right soulmate match for everybody. We all do different things. Like I am, I help my clients with marketing, but am I the best person? I can help you tweak your messaging, but I don't want to do that. So it's like why not allow the right people to help people with what they need help with? And, the other part of that is there's no barrier to entry. There's like anyone can do anything. You don't know what's real anymore. And so for me, part of this is really like allowing people to have like a valid reference for like, oh, this is like a real verified person. Like I think we're losing touch with what's real. Like, I know even when I write my launches, sometimes I run things through ChatGPT. It's like, write these testimonials. They're not even real. I'm like, that's not even that's made up. But
Yeah.
like I think people are doing that. And,
I
you
think
know,
but most people with intuition can tell.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes, but I've heard like I've had a lot of people come to me and part of why I feel this way because integrity and being authentic and just like helping people is really at my heart and I've heard a lot of people just be burned entirely by people stealing their IP, like not delivering what they say they're going to do. So I think that this could really help. And I don't know what it's going to turn into. I'm just sharing this as an idea that's moving towards where it's going, but I think it could really solve that.
I think it will, and I do think there is a need for we're in an industry which is completely unregulated, right? And so if you
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
if you aren't able to discern, which is a big thing, many people have a very powerful marketing, but yeah, are you getting what you need? And is it the right fit for you at that stage in your business? There's all these things like so. I think what you're doing is absolutely brilliant and vital, especially again when you get. This is why real relationships actually build real businesses because when you can actually refer someone from a deep sense of I know this person I can as you said, verify someone. That's what we're really going back to, but that is deeply, deeply fourth line. And why? And so it's amazing for me to hear this because as well with the 54, I was sitting in my garden. I think it was 2022. And I first came up with the Aligned Business Accelerator, which I began as an experiment, like because I wasn't ready yet. I didn't have the experience or the identity to lead it, but I did it for free because I was building my knowledge in marketing and business and learning and taking here's what I've learned, here's how we apply it, let's experiment. But how I came to that, and now I'm doing it again. Now I've launched it again. I have, but as a one to one, and I will eventually once I've refined it and she's already like 3 weeks, like it's crazy.
Hey.
Yeah, the shift that she's made, like going from like literally hating sales to actually crafting a really powerful offer by design and pitching it, and like being loving sales now. Like this is a three.
There is nothing better than that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's the best.
And so it's something I'm refining. Again, third line, 1-3, it's my profile as well. It's very slow, like it's annoying, but it's mastery. It's mastery. We don't want to fuck it up. Um, and we experiment. So the third line brings that innovation. So
Mm,
I was sitting in my garden and I saw a bee inside a flower, and I literally got the download, a mystical download. It was and it said the bee and the flower synergy, like a symbiotic relationship. So connect, collaborate, create. That's when I got my motto: connect, collaborate, create. And I
mhm.
knew I had to build an alliance. And so now it's I had the download then, but I couldn't build it yet. It's the sovereign CEO, which I also got in 2024, but the timing wasn't right. And it wasn't about, oh, I'm scared. Da, da, da. It was timing. Like we have this
Yeah.
sense of timing. And it's about building this symbiotic relationship. Like there's no competition. I want everyone to shine. I want everyone to eat. I want everyone to rise because there's the right. And even if we sell or teach or do the same thing, we have a fractal. We have our own fractal clients. So I'm building this community where people can show up, where they can sell, where they can build real connections, like you're saying, but you're going to do it on a different scale. So I love it. I mean, you just can't get more aligned. So this bee in the flower is a very important symbol for me of that this 54 energy of we want everyone to rise and work together.
Yeah, because it is true. It's like and that's kind of it kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier with the leadership, what we were saying. Like you can learn something from different people. Like, just being open to that and, like, having the right and I think just being open to people and celebrating each other and lifting each other up and learning from each other and not looking at people as like, "Oh my god, I can't promote this person because they're my competition." I don't have competition.
Exactly. And that's what happens when you really are owning yours. I know I keep coming back to your design. You weren't building particularly by design. You were following your inner soul guidance. But that's what happens when somebody creates, or I mean, for me, I came to design after having my own awakening. And so as a projector, systems really help give a language to what we
Mm.
do. So it was like, and also it just was like I dreamt. I was like resisting it. I was like, I don't want to do that because it's I was a master in teaching. I've just become like a master. I don't want to study this thing, but it has to be a really powerful language to help people once they that's why I'm so passionate about the category of one, because I've lived this no competition thing for so long, but other people
Mhm.
get it because they're not is in tune with themselves. They're not in tune with their actual unique genius. They're trying to copy strategies that don't work. They're following the shoulds. They're misaligned, as you said, and it's but once you really build your category of one from your design and you deeply know it, and this is the thing in the world of AI, you don't need AI when you are deeply aligned and convicted with your message and your passion and the work that you do, because it just flows through you. It through you. So yeah, you might do the odd post, but actually you won't want to because it's going to, and that trans is the transmission. That's and there's no competition when you're in the transmission. I'll just do a little rap. Right, there's no competition when you're in a transmission.
Yeah, I think that, I agree. I agree. I think it's just it's all we all get to shine in our zone of genius and help each other build, and the more money that is in the hands of heart-centered women, the better off our world is. So, it's like, let's help each other get there.
Hmm. I think we'll wrap up with I your number one value is authentic connection.
Mm.
And I remember reading a post that you wrote about being at the airport and being escorted to the front of the line purely
Oh.
because you smiled at someone, you know. But that for me, again, it's you just embodying and walking and living that leadership that you it's that, you know. Um so it's
Mhm.
yeah, it sums up how you embody that thing, that value. And there are four major themes for business success with the fourth line. And we're seeing this now in your next evolution of I'm just so excited for it because I see you started in the at 23 building this thing. You then went into the rising entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs and coaching and now you're moving into this thing. It's like the third act. It's just wild. Um, the four key things for anyone listening who is a fourth line is connection, which is why it's so great when you said to me, "Oh, or you say it on your online, my value is authentic connection because that is your role." Um, it's network, it's opportunity, and it's influence. Um, I would love to ask this question if we've got time. Do we have time for one last question?
We have time. I forgot all the time in the world for you.
Oh. Because some people argue that the fourth line really works much better in person and
Mm,
but rather than being online. So I'm gonna actually look at that next week with a projector who actually
mm.
found that leaning into in person actually was much more valuable for her than trying to succeed online. So how has this let's explore how this works in your marketing. What role has community played in your marketing? And do you find that you are equally successful in conversion and building relationships and building business online as you are offline or not?
Yeah, so what's really interesting is when I started this business, I actually, and you may not know this, I actually had no online presence because I was like on Instagram, I was like, why would you follow someone? Because I'm like, we're all equal. I don't want to follow people. Like that's literally people would tag me and I'd untag myself. I'm like, why are you tagging me on Facebook? Like, right. But after all of this stuff happened, I started really diving deep into trauma coaching and things like this. And I ended up it was all female entrepreneurs. It just made sense and it turned into this business. I thought I was going to be a trauma coach originally. And, it's interesting because the way and you know this, but the way that I really built my business was in a Facebook group, which was a Facebook community that has grown. There's, I think, 13,000 people in there. There's 4,000 people waiting to get in. Like, I've met so many amazing people online like you that are in my group. Like, I just it's been such a gift to meet people all over the world with different opportunities, and for me, you know, because I had built an international team, it just like, that's why I built that way because I was like, "Oh, I do this anyways." Like, it's just easy, it's natural for me, and I guess because it's in my chart. That being said, I also will say that being in person is so powerful because when you're in someone's energetic field, when you're in presence with them, like people are like, oh my gosh, you're just like the same person. I'm like, of course I am the same person, right? But it's just different. And like, I'll give you an example. And I'm not even talking about speaking from stage. I think eventually I'll probably do. And I've always had stage fright, but recently I just decided I didn't and got on stage. I was like, it was crazy. It just came up. I was like, nope, you don't need this anymore. Boom, it was gone. Um, but yeah, I was at a mastermind retreat in Puerto Rico and I'm sharing an Airbnb and we're talking to these women and they're just like, "Oh my god, like, oh my gosh, you built all this stuff? Like these are 6, 7, 8, you know?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They were like, "I had no idea you're so chill." Like they were like, "I thought you were like really just fun and like chilled out," which is my personality. I like am very unassuming as a person, I think. And they were like, "It's like you're talking to you and then it's like, boom, you've been Michelle'd." Like, and they wanted to hire me. So for quite a bit of money, you know what I mean? And so I think that both can exist. I feel like being in person, there's something like you establish the intimacy, like it's much more powerful. And I have clients that I don't, because I help people build however's meant for them, some of them don't build online and I'm all for it. Like they go to networking, they're very successful. So I really think it's what feels best for you.
So online has worked for you then, basically. as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually been an extension.
That's how I built my whole company, and, just to say, like, I had no idea what I was doing when I started.
I
Like,
love
I just was like, "I need to reach more people, and this is the way, so I guess I'll have to figure it out."
that.
Third door.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and a
yeah,
motor to the scope because, you are a manifesting generator, so it could show up slightly differently for a projector. But your whole chart is about community, it's about networking. I see you thriving online, but again, it's because you love people. It's
I
like,
do.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do, and they know, and people can feel that. It's like, I think that people it's funny, I was just at an event in Florida, and my friend was following me around, and she's like a very successful person. She was like, "I'm just following you around to see how you do this." And I was like, "Do what?" And she's like, "You get all these people's phone numbers." She was like she couldn't believe it, and I was just like, "'Cause I wanna talk to them." So what's the she's like, "But do you know whose phone number you just got?" Or whatever it is, and I'm like, "I just liked them." Like, I think just being a person
Yes.
first is really I would say I feel like that should be obvious, but, like, I think some people pedestal each other or, like, I don't know, it's bizarre to me. I just am like, let's just be human beings and, like, be kind and meet people we like and hang out with them and make a lot of money. I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so happy. I just feel really, really happy listening to you. And for me as well, just to talk about, I have been from my awakening in 2019. So 2018, I had the complete burnout and the awakening, and then for 7 years almost. Like last year, 25 in January, my soul was like emergence, and I was
Mhm,
literally getting information from goddesses. I was getting information from my guides, and it was. And they said, emergence, and this year you're gonna be cleaned out, and next year you're gonna be in the emergence. And I'm like, okay.
mhm,
And a long period, I've been in deep isolation, and it's been so lonely but also
mhm,
necessary. And now I'm like back into the world of like my soul is just like, I want connection. I want, but
mhm.
it's like I'm ready. I had to go through, it was like, for me, it was like going through that journey, and now I'm out. And for me, like, it is just people. I just want humans, connection, love.
I love it. Yeah, it's like we need each other. We want each other, but like I shared with you, I'm spending time right now in building something that before I build this platform, I'm building something else and I'm in it. And so I need to really focus and I'm intentionally not online, which feels very stretchy for me because I've not missed a day probably in like 5 years and I'm just like, and so sometimes we just need to intentionally do that and then we need to connect. But I think, you know, the most important thing that we have is each other, connecting to each other and building each other up. And, I think we can easily, like, I know for me too, like, I can easily go off into a void of like creating or whatever and then be like, wait, I'm lonely. you know? So I think that's super common too.
Okay, is there anything you would like to leave the audience with? So, I'll put
Mm.
your details. So the Rising Female Entrepreneur Group is there for people to come and join. Rising Female Entrepreneurs on Facebook.
Yes, and I would have them DM me because there's so many people waiting. I want to make sure to get them in
Yeah.
on Facebook.
So I'll add all that information into the description. So, people listening, if you want to connect with Michelle, DM her please on Facebook, Michele Leah. And yeah, is there a parting thought you want people to leave with today?
Oh, just that the most important thing in your business is you, and that you have all of the right answers inside of yourself. You have everything you need. You are so powerful and you can do this. And don't be afraid to connect to people and, ask for support and make it happen. And yeah, I think just knowing you can do it. You have the answer.
Absolutely, you have the answer within. Absolutely. Tune out the noise, trust your soul guidance. And so for me, I would like to encourage people, if you love this episode, like, share, subscribe. I would like some followers. People
Yes.
I'm really engaged, but we're not following. So let's get following, let's get sharing. And the Sovereign CEO community now is open on Facebook. So now, if you're loving the podcast, I'd like to direct you into the Sovereign CEO Facebook community. Okay, thank you so much. So goodbye.
Thank you.